That makes sense. So there's a lack of safety because of how scared they are around it.
Because of how scared they are around triggering the desire or the thoughts or the emotions.
And that's where I feel like I was with you in our marriage for a long time, because I knew you had experienced it before. I was living under this pressure of don't do nothing to upset her too bad because you might cause her suicide, you know, type
And
shit.
I definitely can understand why people would be scared of that, but also why you would go crazy living under that pressure. Because that now means you are constantly trying to maneuver based upon me. You can't live. But anyways, yeah, after that, she almost like cried. I mean, not almost, she did. It's not funny, but like she literally cried. I guess about like my story, or like even just like people who experience it. She just said it makes her sad. So she was just like, you know.
Yeah.
I guess thank you for sharing your story and all you do. And it's heavy. It's just like, ugh.
It's one of the heaviest topics because it's like the most definitive or deciding or ultimate. Yeah.
And it's a struggle because I know with Christianity it's gonna come that heavy. It's wrong or da-da-da. But I don't obviously have a condemning attitude towards it. So I think that's a throw for the loop too. Like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's just like fascinating, these emotional roller coasters. Ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our episode on suicide.
I think it's the next one.
I'm just like, let's just get into it. I mean, we're on it already.
I thought that was just not going to be in it. That was...
I mean, I'll be careful.
Oh, I don't mind. Well, no, you do got to be careful, but...
Yeah. Yes. So before we get started, obviously, we're having a good time. We like to have fun on this podcast. But obviously, some of these topics are not fun. But at the same time, maybe we can still learn, be interesting. And I'm sure I'm going to say something ignorant at some point during this. Yeah.
You already have notes for this?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Why'd you ask me that?
Because I know you said it was your next episode, so I didn't know if you already had your segments.
She's sleeping on my preparation.
I didn't know you already had your segments for this one.
See, that's where you mess up questioning a nigga, man. Nigga came prepared, okay? Wow. So, yes, disclaimer.
I like how your dress is falling today. It's cute.
How about? Thank you. Can we take your phone off the desk? I'm picking up that vibration. All your fans calling. You can't help it.
What an asshole.
We supposed to be talking about suicide. See? Okay, look. Seriously, though.
Why does it have to be serious? Or heavy? Or
okay,
whatever.
perfect. You know what? This is Travis Joynes speaking for himself on how he feels around the subject. I just want to let everybody know that I know it's serious, that it's scary, and we're picking at the word, at the concept, not at the word really, but just talking around the concept. Sherri is a professional and has more life experience surrounding the topic, so she may speak freer than I will on the topic.
I don't mean freer on the topic. I guess it just sounded like you were saying like the whole episode is going to be serious.
I'm actually saying it won't be, and I'm kind of apologizing if it's not serious enough.
It didn't sound like it.
Okay.
To me, I'm just saying.
Perfect.
To me.
So it was sincere. Perfect.
I hope it's sincere. You're so silly.
Let's start off with a little game we like to call Cringe the Counselors. Again, strange to play a little game on the suicide episode, but my wife says it's fine, so blame her.
Oh my God. Blame me.
This is a little game we play where we say sentences and phrases and statements surrounding the topic, and we see how much her counselor's intuition gets cringed as she hears the phrases. Number 1, people who have committed suicide are selfish. Cringe on 1 to 10. Counselor, we have a...
6.
A 6 out of 10. Okay. I think. Number 2. People who have thought of suicide are crazy.
Is it cringy? Oh, 6.
A 6. Okay. Got a theme building here. Committing suicide. I'm sorry. Number 3. Fanfare. Number 3. Suicide is playing God. Okay, not that cringy. I try to throw a little spicy one in there. Okay. Number 4. Suicidal thoughts should be avoided for the sake of safety. Does that
5.
That's a little cringy. Okay, so that's like a neutral. All right.
Oh, is that a neutral?
5. Well, I guess that's true. Neutral is like 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. 5 is like halfway up the cringe scale. That's true.
And I'm trying to. It's
zero
hard
being no
to
cringe.
It's hard because for me, cringe is so subjective.
Right.
Meaning, if you said any of these phrases, I would laugh. No cringe from you because I know you're joking or you're teasing or you're trying to get me or something. It's not going to hit me the same. If someone else says certain things, it would depend. So, like, that's even like the spiritual one. Are you spiritual?
Right.
Or not? That's going to depend on how cringy it's going to make me. So some of those are just kind of dependent on, like, that's why I didn't go higher, because I feel like the phrase is obnoxious, but
right.
Like I'm also taking into account like the person that said it.
Yeah, well, that's what we're asking you to do. We are not asking a regular individual. We're asking a professional counselor. You come across so many different types of people and situations. I just like to throw these phrases at you representing maybe the masses just to see how it rings off you. And of course, we will be going deeper into these type of things later in the episode. And the last one, only a small group of the most mentally ill people have suicidal thoughts. Somebody's saying that as a fact, just letting you know that. How's that come across? Sorry, wait, I actually spiked it. I added a little bit of obnoxious in the delivery. Yeah. But just as a phrase, that idea that only a small group of the really crazy people in the world are the ones who experience suicidal thoughts. I've heard beliefs like that for sure. I used to kind of be in that realm, I think.
I feel like, again, the belief in and of itself does not bother me, but like how you add it to to it in the end, the way someone delivers that is gonna piss me off.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so is it like, you know, I think, and it's said very calmly, and it's just like, oh, I think, like, you know, that's gonna cringe me out about a 4 or 5, right?
Okay.
But if it's like a definitive, like, no, I know, that's about a 9.
Okay, it sounds like our game might need some work because it sounds delivery dependent. Either way, thank you for playing, ladies and gentlemen. Cringe the counselor.
He said it needs work.
All right, thank you very much for hanging in there with us. I want to do. Basically, since that game went so well, let's do another one right away. Okay, and this one is called updating. That was strange. Oh, you're looking at the monitor. Yeah. I'm gonna start a little counter here now that we know she's been doing a little glance over for how many times I can catch you. Was that a burp? Like a mouth open.
How many times you gonna catch me burp?
Smile. You burp through the smile.
I was laughing and then the burp happened, so you know, you just gotta go with it.
Fantastic. Well done. Yeah, so this game here, like, we're gonna do a lot of corny things surrounding computers and coding, since we are the code dependent podcast. This one's called updating files.
Updating files.
Updating files. I'm gonna start first.
Okay.
This is surrounding suicide, since we're doing it. Stuff I used to think about before that randomly thoughts come to me. I don't know if I'm the only person in the world this happens to, but You think about something you used to think about a long time ago, thinking about it again for the first time in a long time, and realize I have changed what I thought about that. That is what we call updating a file on a codependent podcast. So as it pertains, let me get serious again, but as it pertains to suicide, I'll probably say, like that last question that I threw at you about it, suicidal thoughts as a whole are reserved for like mental hospital, crying in the bed all day long, the most craziest of people in the world are the ones who want to kill themselves. And if I hear it talked about, it's almost tense up because this could be one of them times they do it, you know. So I would say it was really hairpin trigger, tripwire, grenade, landmine thoughts around it.
For you? For
me, yeah. And if I hear someone mention it, and whoever is having these suicidal thoughts, remember, let's get the pen down and do a check mark. We got a super crazy on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We got a top level nutter butter, and put them on what they have, suicide watch.
Yeah.
They have a watch for it.
Well, I've been on suicide watch.
Right. And so that's why my files got updated. Personally, it's just
I haven't really, but kind of.
In experience with you, dealing with you, talking about you. I said dealing with. Experiencing and getting to be in the pleasure of your company. Yeah. So my files got updated quite a bit. I would say how I think about it now is that all humans share the experience of dealing with their own psyche. Very different how you deal with it, what you say, what's going on in there in the mind and the psyche. Everybody's different, of course. But that thing can get very angsty and painful and disturbing for anybody. Anybody can experience that inside head noise, pain, discomfort, and just want to be the fuck out of there. So I can understand it, rationalize it a lot better these days. Maybe because I felt my stress levels go to a place where I'm thinking, if this had to be my everyday life, fuck it, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's how that file got updated. I'm not sure. But for you, more interesting, you've had experience around and with it from decades. So how would you say your thoughts around it have changed, if they have even?
For sure. Obviously, it's something that I've dealt with since as early as I can remember. Mm-hmm. I think the first thing I would challenge for people with the suicidal thought, like the statistic or whatever you were saying about it's crazy people or whoever it is or whatever, I guess the first thing is, what is a suicidal thought?
Okay.
Because I think that is the reason we think of it in extreme. We think of the most extreme form of that, which is, I want to die. I don't know many people that want to die. So what you just said is a part of that learning or updating the file. Most people, even those that commit suicide, don't want to die. They want the pain to end. And that's something that most people can then connect with. If you connect to that, it's not so suicide. Right. It's really more honing in on the reality of it, because the other one that you often get, which is more common, is what we call a passive death wish, which is, I wish I wasn't born. I wish I wasn't alive. I don't want to keep going on. I don't want to do this anymore. These are all suicidal ideational thoughts.
Okay. Suicide ideation, what is that you mentioned?
Suicide ideation is all of the ideas and the thoughts surrounding suicidality.
Got it.
So you may say everything exists on a spectrum, right? So on the worst end of the spectrum, I don't want to do this no more.
Okay.
But it doesn't start right there. It starts with, this is hard. I can't do this. Yeah. I don't have any help or whatever. Okay. And so it starts to get into more extreme because, like you said, if someone's going on and on and on and on and on and never getting help, who wants to live like that?
So you would say it's a progressive type thought process or experience.
I think it's a loss of hope, right?
Okay.
Like you just said, if this is understood to be a day or a moment, I can get through a moment. But when this becomes my reality, my daily, my everyday, my new current, who wants to live like that?
And so how has that belief changed for you? Is that a file
it
that
didn't
you need to
necessarily
update, or
change.
you always kind of thought
that
that
part
one?
didn't change. The part that changed is because of the way I was raised, there was a cognitive dissonance surrounding suicidality. I lived with suicidality, but I was also taught that was wrong.
Okay.
I was taught that it's immoral.
Having just the fact of having the thoughts or doing it?
Kind of both, right?
Okay.
Anything around it feels unchristlike, unappreciative of life, ungrateful for the blessing of life.
Okay.
Ungrateful to be alive.
I can see it. Yep.
Obviously the act, again, going into another one of your questions, right? You're taking in God's power. You're taking over your life. You're harming yourself, and maybe even planning to harm yourself. All of these things are considered wrong from a religious perspective. Even if I don't act on the sin, to think about it is already a sin.
Gotcha.
It's already wrong. And then if I do anything acting upon it, that's even more sinful and more wrong.
I got you.
I don't think it's sinful.
So that's
now.
how you. That's how
my
you.
updated file.
Okay.
Do I think it's desirable? Who the hell wants to wish they were dead? I don't know anybody that wants to be suicidal or wants to be depressed. So is it a state of desire for any person? Not even the one going through it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So no, that's not what I would want for anyone.
Yeah.
Am I going to say they're wrong for feeling that way? How could I?
Exactly.
You just said if I was living in this over and over and over again, I might feel like I would like a different experience.
Exactly.
Makes sense to me. Now, obviously, a big proponent of the reason we approach suicide the way we do is fear, right? Like, as a therapist, there's a liability around, I don't want people to commit suicide, so I'm not endorsing suicide, right? But that becomes the fear. If I tell you you're not a bad person if you commit suicide, am I endorsing it? Am I telling you something that's contributing to these thoughts? Am I going to now be held liable if you kill yourself, right? So much of how we approach people with suicidality is based on fear.
Yeah.
I don't want to contribute to the thoughts. I don't want you to kill yourself because I brought it up. I don't want to talk about it. That might trigger you to kill yourself. Those are all
It makes me think
also.
of this. There's this chick that I seen. Suicide guru woman. I'm just trying to. It was. She basically got in trouble because she says a lot of people are coming to her class and they deal with mental health, they deal with struggles, they deal with pain. People are saying she's basically manipulating them. And then and they're basically saying she is taking advantage of people who are emotionally suffering, and she's playing a little too loose around suicide, where they say she's forgiving, maybe encouraging, too loose and reckless. And then, of course, the problem that happened is a couple of her followers, committed suicide. She's saying, I'm not saying everyone who comes to me won't commit suicide, right? I'm saying, how about a lot of people who didn't, who were gonna, right? And listen, this is not an endorsement by me, by this lady. I'm just bringing up this because it came to my mind because you were talking about it, that it is a slippery slope of, if you're not too strict on it, it might get out of hand.
I think that's where a lack of understanding comes into play. And I do think that a lot of society is based more on perception than reality.
Okay.
From a clinical understanding, one of the first things I was taught when I started doing therapy, which was jarring for me, one of the first things my supervisor told me, you're not going to kill him. It was crazy to me.
Morbid.
It's very morbid. And I was jarred. Like, I was like, what? Is that the goal? Like, that's the line? That's the bottom? But to be quite honest, she's setting a tone, right? It doesn't sound good to people who are thinking about coming to therapy. But nothing I'm doing is controlling your actions or thoughts. We're discussing certain things. We're going over certain ideas. But at the end of the day, you are in control over your thoughts and actions, whether you know them or not. But you're also responsible for them, right? So we can have certain conversations and certain ideas that may make you feel all kinds of ways. But I can't necessarily control your thoughts or actions. Yeah. And therefore, you're going to ultimately always be responsible for what you choose to do. Can I influence him? Yes, but most therapists aren't trying to influence you to kill yourself. No one who's committed to the work of therapy, like actually committed to having you try to heal and grow. And if you have had your own experiences, whether personal or witnessing suicidality, you're not going to probably be trying to encourage someone to commit it, right? And that's the thing. Talking about it doesn't make you want to do it more or less.
Right.
Talking about it makes you feel understood. As someone who struggled with it, not talking about it is what made it feel shameful.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, you learn from people's reactions. If everyone is hushing you, that's something that is embarrassing, something to be quieted, something to not be discussed. That teaches you shame.
Okay.
That teaches you embarrassment. That teaches you not to talk about your problems. But then how do you get help for your problems?
Right.
You got to talk about it to get help.
It seems like there's a shared fear that happens, right? The person who may be feeling it may express it, or at least see how scared other people are around it. Why would I bring mine into this mix? Y'all have proven that it's a disturbing and jarring experience. That makes sense. So there's a lack of safety because of how scared they are around it.
Because of how scared they are around triggering the desire or the thoughts or the emotions.
And that's where I feel like I was with you in our marriage for a long time, because I knew you had experienced it before. I was living under this pressure of don't do nothing to upset her too bad because you might cause her suicide, you know, type
And
shit.
I definitely can understand why people would be scared of that, but also why you would go crazy living under that pressure. Because that now means you are constantly trying to maneuver based upon me. You can't live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. After a small outfit change, we will now resume this topic of suicide. And we just mentioned about the shame people feel and bringing it up and having to talk about it with their loved ones who may not be experienced in it, or you know, they're scared of it, and so they may react bad. So I kind of want you to give me some tips on what's a family member or close friend, intimate partner, whatever, say they've already responded bad, right? Or if it's brand new, you know, what are some of the tips we could have that empathy so that the people feel supported when they share with us?
I would say vulnerability, openness, and honesty.
From the listener?
Yeah.
Okay. How's that work? Okay. Show me that.
Like you said, it's newer for them than for the person experiencing it, which makes me assume they're terrified or scary.
Yeah.
Admit it, like, or talk about that, own that, right? And as any person owns their fear, it makes it easier for others to own their fears and communicate and discuss their fears, right? So it allows your friend or partner, whoever, family member, to be vulnerable as well, to say there's things they're scared of as well. So it's a connection point. It also shows a willingness to listen and communicate, but a hesitancy, like, not that I don't care, but more so I don't know how to approach this. Most people are okay with that. That's very different than I don't want to hear about it, or I don't even care about you, or none of that. You see what I mean?
So now, before, when you said people might be scared before, and they're saying, no, don't think like that. Hey, it's okay. You know, like, this is things we could do. This is things we could. That's different, I guess. That's the fear, right? As we're scared. But now you're saying don't react in the fear, and not don't. I'm sorry, but try to
acknowledge your fears. And
say
your emotions.
You're scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared to hear this.
Yeah.
Like,
that worries me. But why? I care about you.
Yeah.
They need to hear that. They don't think people care, so it's nice. That's why I said if you can be open. If you care, right? If you don't care, the best thing to do is not say anything, because you can make it worse. Okay. But like, if you care, then just being honest about how you feel about it is very helpful. So
I can say, like, damn, whoa, you're talking about suicide. That is terrifying. I have no idea how to approach this. That's
good, because you can then, like, so what do you need from me?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know how to approach this. I've never been through this.
So ask the person, okay, yeah. How can I help? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what do you need from me? Because that also allows you to acknowledge, hey, sometimes maybe what you need from me I can't do. Maybe this person's saying I need 24/7 conversation. I can't do that. but I can redirect you to like a hotline or to a therapist or to someone else who can do those things that I may not be able to do, right? But as you can express to me what you need, I can also then let you know more realistically what I can or cannot do also to support you.
That makes sense.
Because I can't do everything. Yeah, not just be honest with their friend, but first be honest with yourself about your strengths and limitations, your thoughts, feelings surrounding that, right? I mean, that's my advice to everyone in any situation, right? Like, the more honest I am with myself first, the more I can kind of process some of my thoughts and emotions and be intentional with which ones I want to express to you. But also, if I can't handle this, or, you know what I mean? Or if I can't handle certain components of this, I kind of know going in, I can also tell you going in, as opposed to attempting to do something that neither of us are equipped for and hurting us both in that process.
And it's never in lieu of professional help too, right? It's more like, you know, you live with people, you're in relationships with people, you interact. It's not saying you're their damn counselor, but I like what you're saying, that you got to be, if you being honest about how scared you are is going to be a good first step before you go telling them about it or reacting, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little bit weird as a therapist because I'm not a therapist who thinks you need to be in therapy, right? I actually feel like therapy was a job that was once insourced, that we've had to outsource because people are no longer equipped, right? Meaning a lot of tasks that we did in the family or in society within ourselves has now started, like, we get tailors, we get mechanics, we get farmers, we get our food. Like, those were all things we used to do ourselves, but the busier we've gotten in life, the more we've had to outsource tasks, right? Including therapy, to be honest. No one's gonna be in therapy, to me, like, if you're a healthy person, you shouldn't be in therapy your whole life, right? Which means at some point you're no longer in therapy, but you still need support. You still need people to talk to. So I'm always trying to teach people how to replace me in their life, right? Within themselves, like giving them themselves the skills to do some of the stuff I'm helping them to do, but also teaching their family members how to do some of those things, one, so they can do it in their own lives, but also so they can help and support each other. Because I do think we're supposed to support each other. I do agree that most of us don't feel equipped to do therapeutic work because we think it's all this floaty stuff. And we think that therapeutic work means I have to listen to you forever talk about things that I cannot handle talking. Even therapists have to set boundaries.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that anyone can do if they are wanting to and if they're able to in that moment, right? Because just because even me as a therapist, I can on certain days or times doesn't mean I can all day, every day.
Right.
So that's where boundaries comes in too. Like, that's where being honest with yourself is. If I can't handle this right now, if I can't handle this ever, sometimes you don't know. And that's what part of this process of learning, therapists had to learn too.
Right.
What they could and couldn't handle.
Yeah. Okay. And I like that. Why didn't you tell me this shit back when I was trying to support you? Why didn't you have this wonderful, you know, life-saving advice for me?
Oh, that's a great question. I did, and I didn't.
Okay.
Right? Marriage and relationships, all relationships are learning how to communicate with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
For women, there's a particular challenge because of how society has taught us what we're supposed to be like to a man. We're supposed to defer to him. We're supposed to listen to him. This is the leader. This is the person you submit to. And on top of that, society teaches us that people with mental health don't know shit, and people without mental health know everything, right?
Mental health issues? Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Or even trauma or whatever, right? So coming into our marriage early on, I was listening to others, you, everyone around me, society, all of this, to say, how could I know more about certain things than you because of my history, because of my trauma, because of my past? So it took me developing sort of confidence in myself and in my own point of view and perspective before I could even challenge yours. Right. And some of that comes from challenging what society tells women to do. But men hate that. So that's part of that growth and development, even in the person, where it's like, I don't think I know everything. Society's already told me I don't know everything. Yeah. So I think I'm wrong first.
Yeah.
And I had to realize sometimes you are, but that also means sometimes you have to be right. And I think people assume I always think I was right. No, like, I think I was going through a lens of assuming I was wrong. assuming certain things, and that's where I've learned probably to help my clients, because even if you think about it, when somebody insults you or when certain people say things to you, your reaction is like, what? No. So a part of me resisted, but a part of me is like, maybe they're right. Maybe they know more than I know. But there's also always this part that's like, that don't feel good. That don't sound right to me.
Yeah.
I just had to get more in tune with that intuition and with that voice that's telling me, nah, you know yourself. Or like you said, you've been dealing with this for so long. You kind of know how to handle this.
Yeah.
And get around this. And yeah, it may be scary to them. That's also okay. I had to get comfortable with that.
When you're saying get around this, you mean
suicide, mental health, survival, life, everything, right? Like, I don't think, because of my trauma and because of growing up super criticized in everything I did, my default is to think I'm wrong.
Okay, yeah.
In everything, right? So now if I'm coming into a relationship and the person's saying I'm wrong, that makes sense.
Yeah, and yeah. I grew up thinking I'm goddamn right.
And you thought you were right. So it made sense. So we're both like, yeah, this nigga's right. But then I'm like, hold on. Really? Is he? Always?
Yeah. Always? Which was growth on my part too.
And I had to learn how to communicate it, because that's the other part that I've learned through you, through therapy. I see it time and time again. Men don't hear emotion. So I was saying some of it, but I was saying it hysterically. Screaming that shit at the top of my lungs because I'm drowning, but people don't see drowning. They think, what the hell? Yeah. I still hear people, you want attention, you want this, you want that, like, that's the label they understand it through. So I had to learn my own process of processing some of these thoughts and emotions, so I'm not giving it to you so raw. Yeah. Then you like, oh, okay, I can read this handwriting. Think about that though. When you're emotional, that shit like, is like, what? What did you say?
That's a good analogy. He's trying to turkey me, man.
It's like slow-mo that shit.
Good idea. Oh, fantastic.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah, no, you're right though. Neither handwriting. That's a good analogy. Yeah, I like that. And taking care of the people who you may be able to vibe with, who are feeling deep down, level 10 agony, kill. I'm thinking of it tomorrow. All the way up to people who might be, I definitely want the pain to stop, and I'm definitely sick of the way life is right now. And they definitely want to change, you know. Maybe speak from your experience on some practical steps, you know, like, how do I get from the agony to somewhere else? How do I get this to stop?
So it takes honesty again with some shadow work.
Shadow work meaning?
Looking at the parts of yourself that you've been taught to hate, that you've been taught to suppress, that you've been taught were wrong, that you've been taught aren't good, are dirty, you're ashamed of, you're embarrassed about, right? Those are the things that you've learned from others aren't valuable, aren't worthy, aren't good in yourself. And because you can't accept those parts of yourself, how can you accept those parts of others? How can you accept certain parts of society and life?
Or accept that those people could accept those parts of you if you haven't even
accepted them in yourself. That's a beautiful component. Like, I didn't even think of that. But that's actually very true, which is how you see a lot of times those projections in relationships, right? You don't think you're lovable, so you don't think anyone loves you.
Yeah.
And that was definitely my problem early on, right? And that's why I say being honest with yourself, because the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It's not that you're unlovable, even though you may feel sometimes like people don't love you, right? It's not that everything you do is lovable either. Are you kidding? That ain't realistic either. So if that's what you think, that's scary. But if this is what you think, that's scary also, right? So let's be honest with ourselves. The same way, whatever it is that you're feeling upset about, you're probably not being fully honest with yourself about it, right? Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a house or a car, whatever it is that we're striving for in society, things that we want that we feel like we can't get, love, acceptance, validation. we're not honest with ourselves fully about what those things are. Because, for instance, relationships, right? We think we want this person to look a certain way, to be a certain way, to act and respond a certain way. You get that, you're not happy. You want this house to look a certain way, to be a certain way. You're not happy. So there's obviously some deeper things going on that we're not being fully aware of or honest about that's creating the discontentment. If I can get to that source, I'm more
underneath.
Yeah. What's going on underneath that's driving me so much towards these things?
Yeah.
Or
so
to
it's
these
like
people.
like analyzing the roots of the agony, right? So let me say, for just role playing here, I've analyzed the roots, and it is that I feel largely abandoned in life, largely uncared for and ignored, marginalized even socially. The friends don't really show love, the family don't really show love. It's just I'm feeling, based on what I've been seeing, that I'm just gonna have a lonely existence, and I'd rather not be here for that. What is and I say, well, you say analyze the root. What a root is, I'm looking back to the childhood, I guess. I'm looking back to, how it's been with my family, and the root is that people have always mistreated me for as far back as I can remember. So now that I've analyzed that root, I'm still in agony. How do I take that root analysis to a place of more peace?
A couple of things, right? One, I would ask that person, have you abandoned yourself? I can't control all the people in my past who may or may not have abandoned me. But if I continue to abandon myself, can I expect others to show up for me?
Wow. What does self-abandonment look like?
It looks like not giving myself the things I'm asking everyone else to give me.
Woo!
I can't expect it from others. I would like that.
Attention.
Right? I would love for people to give me
kind
praise,
words,
compliments, words, be there for you when you're going through stuff. But they got their own stuff that they're working through and processing in a different time, speed, experience than yours. So would that be lovely? For sure.
Sure.
But is it always possible? No. The one thing that you can hopefully pull out of it is you're going to be there. You just told me you've been abandoned by all these people, but you're the common denominator in all these situations. You're still here. So there's certain things you've done to get through each one of those moments, which means, is that an ideal? No. But you can handle getting through things on your own, even if you don't want to, right?
That's pointing to resilience.
Absolutely. And maybe in the past, because if we're being honest, you said your whole life. How old are you?
30.
So from 0 to 20, you couldn't have known what to look for in relationships, and you didn't get much control over the relationships in your life from 0 to 20, so we can throw that out. So you're saying in 10 years you've had bad relationships, but you're just starting to understand what to look for in a relationship. So continue that work, and I think that you'll find healthier relationships throughout the process.
Wow, yeah.
But is it going to happen day one? The very first job you had, the very first car, the very first everything was ideal? Probably not.
Right.
So your first relationships aren't going to be ideal. Doesn't mean all your relationships forever are going to be bad. That's where being honest with yourself is. All my childhood relationships are bad. Where are those people at? Are their relationships good? No. So then that makes sense. Yes, I'm part of the equation, but I'm not the whole part of that equation.
Or the cause.
So, the cause. So it's like, okay, there's some correlation, but let me keep looking. In college, how did my relationships look?
Yeah.
Were they healthy or unhealthy? Okay, well, I was still young. I'm still learning. I'm still defining. Now you said 30. Okay, I'm still into my young adulthood. So I'm still really early into understanding and discovering that process.
Right.
So let's see.
Yeah, I like that. It takes a bit of patience, and from what I've learned from you, the patience is difficult, especially while suffering. But I really appreciate how you kind of gave something I could touch as far as steps, thoughts to almost help combat some of the other things people could be suffering with. I think that's really helpful.
And hopefully they can practice gratitude along the way. There's always things that suck in life. There's always things that are good. The things I feel are the things I think about. right? So if I'm feeling bad, I'm thinking about sad and depressing things. If I want to shift that, I need to think about some good things, some hopeful things, some grateful things.
On purpose.
On purpose, with intentionality.
Yeah.
We unintentionally hyper focus on the negative.
Fucking right, man.
That's the brain trying to protect us.
Yeah, it is.
That's us in our
it
fears.
Yeah.
All of that. So we have to train it to redirect to the positive.
On purpose.
On purpose. That's what meditation and mindfulness really, to me, is about.
Mm-hmm.
Training your brain how to focus. That's what ADHD, that's why mindfulness is so popular. And I mean, well, kind of popular, not as popular, but like we're pushing it in the medical and mental health field because all of the research, ADHD, like everything you see in mental health has to do with focus. That's one of our first assessment questions. Do you have attention problems? Do you have focus problems? Do you have memory problems? This is all brain related.
And even from trauma and obsessive thoughts, PTSD, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Even going into Alzheimer's, if we're being honest.
Oh, wow.
All this stuff is connected. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Mindfulness helps with that.
Interesting.
Meditation helps.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because technically, which is fascinating, they talk about a plaque on the brain for Alzheimer's.
Okay. And they do mention how certain cortexes or whatever from the brain receive rejuvenation and regeneration from meditation. So that makes sense that it will help there. Yeah. Which is another practical step for people suffering with the agony and stuff is 5 minutes a day, whatever a day, just try to sit down, and even guided meditation, whatever, just on purpose switch your brain to something else.
And if I can say, out of everything, it's, to me, what meditation is in a weird way, at least initially and early on, is can you on purpose allow yourself to be uncomfortable for minutes,
for a set amount of
time, and then try and decrease it. Because people want to go into meditation always for the comfort,
right?
But that's not what you need. I mean, you think you need it for that, but it's a band-aid, right? Which means I need it again, 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 right? Almost like a drug and an addiction. Medication, all of these things, they're just band-aids. I need more of this fix, right? As opposed to if I'm training my brain and developing this muscle, it starts to happen automatic.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's like, it's almost like addressing symptoms versus roots, right? Like changing the leaves versus changing the roots. It's true that meditation and 10 deep breaths at any point without any other mental work can relieve stress. But the stuff you're talking about switching your thoughts, maybe not in meditation, but when I know I'm ruminating on painful thoughts, or doing not just the meditation, but the other self-analysis of my other relationships. What are the thoughts that I learned from other people that are causing me agony? Which ones do I agree with?
Yes.
Which ones do I want to keep?
Yes.
Out of my biggest agonizing thought trains, how many of them have I adopted from other people, societal pressures, familial, professional, religious?
Yes.
And do you want to, and I'm not saying because they came from somewhere means throw them out. It's a lot of stuff that we learn that we want to keep, driving and things, and maybe even some health and hygiene habits. You want to keep stuff you've learned. But then if it's causing you suffering, you might as well take a look and see how much of the system and logic and belief behind it do you want to adopt and continue to run your life.
See, that's the hard part of honesty with self. Because what you just said, it's a cost, right? If I'm honest with myself about certain things, I have to let go of my pride. I have to let go of being right. I have to let go of how are people going to see me or perceive me or think about me, right?
Yeah, okay.
For instance, in relationships, people screw up. You tell everybody about the screw up. Now you don't want to stay with the partner you actually want to stay with because of what everybody else thinks about that person. Because now there's pressures on you from all of these people on how is this person treating you or not treating you. I've seen it over and over and over again. This is what you want, but now you don't know if you want it because of all of these pressures, right?
It's a powerful thing, the thoughts of other people.
Because you want those relationships too.
And imagine you grew up with it. You grew up as a kid with the thoughts about what being a good person is, what makes you valuable. You learn that from a young age. And then what makes you invaluable inversely, right?
Absolutely.
Or
I mean, I've seen
conversely,
that even
whatever.
with people telling me they never thought they were smart. They never thought they were good students. And people had confirmed that to them. So now this is definitely what I think and believe until adulthood. Now they're shocked at their own intellect. This is what I mean about even just sort of being honest with yourself and giving yourself certain things you need. We're not even aware of ourselves, like who we are, right? So we put so much energy and thought into how other people have disappointed us, or how other people have gone astray, or how other people you don't know yourself. You don't know your own capabilities. You don't know your own talents. Like, that's something I would encourage everyone to do, is just like studying yourself, right? One of the most basic assessments we do is like, what are you good at? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you like? What do you need? People can't answer that.
Do you think that's common for people suffering with suicidal thoughts and that the difficulty
Not
answering?
necessarily, right?
So it's not necessarily linked.
It's not necessarily linked to suicidality, but it is linked to self-esteem and trauma in some regards, right? It comes from never being told you were good at anything.
Okay.
Right? Never having gifts or talents manifested. Because think about childhood. What do we praise kids in? Oh, you're athletic. Oh, you're pretty.
Grades.
Oh, you're great. So I'm not a good student. Doesn't mean I'm not smart, but it didn't manifest in a way that's validated as a kid, right?
Right.
I may not be friendly and playing with the kids, so I'm not being told I'm a good kid.
Right.
Because I don't play well, I don't share my toys.
Yeah.
What if I'm standing in my own boundaries? I don't want to share.
Yeah.
That's something new age that the parents that I work with, they're talking to me about this stuff, allowing their kids to not have to share. I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't even know how I feel about it, because that's not how I was raised. I'm thinking, what? No, you gotta share. You're supposed to share. That's the good citizenship shit.
Yeah.
No, like, why? That's your boundary.
Yeah.
Our daughter taught me that. Like, I'm okay with you calling me selfish. Like, I'm okay with you telling me this or that.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm okay with my choice. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. But that means I have to have some type of confidence. I have to have people that
Stability.
trusted my choices.
Yeah. Support.
Right?
Yeah.
Support.
Yeah.
I have to have someone validating me, telling me that was a good decision.
Yeah.
That was a good choice.
Now you know you can keep trying to make them. I see what you're saying. Oh man, I feel so much for the people, man.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful in general, you know, like overall, just for how you've kind of hit me to the shit.
I mean, honestly speaking, I feel like it's one of those things that I wish I didn't.
Educate me on.
Or myself, or anyone, right? Like, it's like, this is kind of what I'm learning, right? Like, your gifts and talents aren't always what you want them to be or what you think you're good at, right? Like, no one's going around to that kid. Like, going back to what you're saying, I was always the one into darker shit. Writing poetry, emotional, heavy, sensitive. These are not things that people tell you as a child you're talented in.
I see
you're
what you're
gifted
saying.
in. Like,
I see what you're saying.
But it is.
Right.
All of that super sensitivity and empathy that you've seen in my childhood is the same thing that makes me a great therapist.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm grateful for, but it's not necessarily something that, like, oh, I like to be the expert on suicide. Like, do I want to be the suicide expert?
I know.
But I am.
I know.
And I don't want to say I am, but
and it's a silver lining. We get to do wonderful episodes like this, and we get to talk to our kids about mental health in ways we didn't, and maybe even you get to help me help my friends and stuff like that. So, and I hope you guys also appreciate it. Matter of fact, you fucking better. And on that note, Big Rizzy and Sherri joins the Queen. We're out.
The Sherri joins the Queen and you get Big Rizzy.
Oh, what do you want?
Ew, I don't know.
Okay, hold on. Let me think.
Big Red.
Big Red and Big Rizzy. We out.
Why?